Okay, it's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day. This is a fun story that happened to me a few years ago. So I was working in a paint shop, and the cafe next to us, that I knew the employees really well because they were really fun, and they had great goodies there. So someone had come in or called and said, "Can someone drive standard? None of us can drive standard." And this woman went into labor. She was meeting a friend, and the friend or was running late, and then she couldn't get a hold of her husband because he was in the middle of a meeting, so she had to go to the hospital right away. She couldn't drive herself. And so could someone move her vehicle to a safer side? There's street parking that changes during rush hour in my city, so could someone maybe move her vehicle for her? She had to get to the hospital, obviously. And I said, "Oh, I can drive standard. Sure, I'd love to help." So, um, and that was back when I was single and trying to be, okay with being single and working on it and getting there and that kind of thing. But I was really happy to help someone who was in the midst of something amazing. Obviously, birth is amazing and it is a miracle, and very cool to be a small part of that person's huge Valentine's Day story. And of course, we found out later that everything went great and they were thankful to the staff at the cafe for helping, and obviously got their vehicle back and no tickets and all of that, and that everything went really well and that they were very appreciative. And I don't remember what the baby's name was, but it was a baby girl, and they shared that with us, and it was, pretty special. So I always loved hanging my hat on that Valentine's Day story. Probably the best Valentine's Day I've ever had. So um, I'm part of a beta testing group online, helping us to work towards the things we want and start. Aaron Daughtry says one of the most important things is to start. So, day 3 of doing a video every day, much like he made a commitment to himself to do every day, I'm following along in his adorable footsteps. So, I was talking with one of the girls in the group, commenting back and forth as we sometimes do on the interwebs. Ania Grabowska, hopefully I'm saying that right, and I were talking back and forth about the changes we want to make and the things that we want to bring about. And I ended up responding to her something that I liked, so I'm going to share that. We're always going to expand and ask for more. And when we are allowing the more, because it's always up to us, that's our responsibility, that's when it gets really good. And what Joseph Rodriguez says about Neville Goddard's work is we have access to the ideal state now, so then it gets really good now. Then I access that state now with the source within, and know that that's my birthright, know that I can embody the feeling of it. I can imagine it. Our 2 gifts, Neville Goddard would say from the Hermetica, are mind and speech. And with those 2 gifts, I can create everything I want. That's the real world. Our imagination is the real world. And the world of appearances is just everything we see right now, me making this video, you doing whatever you're doing. And that's just the world of appearances. And one thing I love to remember about imagination is that everything, and of course we all know this, but it bears repeating every single day, everything that was once imagined, or everything that is, was once imagined. Nothing has come into this world without first being imagined. That partner, that child, that business, the iPhone, everything, it all was once inside someone's imagination before it became. And so if you can imagine it, you can have it. And I think that is one of the most powerful concepts that I have ever learned and really felt. When you really feel something and you're like, yes, like that's for me, that makes sense for me, that pleases me, that informs me. And so I say it often, especially when I come up against something where I have resistance. So whenever we experience negative emotion in relation to one of our desires, we're just standing in our own way. We're just not letting ourselves have something we want because of conditions. When you take the conditions out of the equation, then you can have it. You can just have it. Because of course conditions relate to how a lot as well too. And the how is what often trips us up. That's why we do go back to the why. We go back to the what. Those are the things that ground us. Why do I want what I want? What do I want? And really feel those things. And of course, when we've experienced the absence of something for a long time, then the presence of it is what we want. And focusing on the presence of what we want is challenging until we've practiced it for a little while. And especially when I first started listening to Neville and being like, oh, I can just revise something. He calls it the pruning shears of revision, which I'll talk about in another video for sure. Just the very concept of, and I'll mention it briefly, when you go to bed at night, anything that didn't happen, that didn't sit well, like some sort of event, some passage of time that went poorly, you felt, before you go to bed, you just reimagine it. You just spend time how you would have liked to have been. And it's super satisfying, especially once you've been doing it for a little bit, because you're used to embodying those feelings. And it is a wild ride when you start doing that on a consistent basis, because that also helps to build belief. That is what helps build belief, because of course beliefs are just, as Abraham Hicks would say, a thought we continue to think. And yes, it is, it requires some attention to change them, but we can do that. We have the ability to do that. We are given the two gifts of mind and speech to inform that, to help do that. And of course the gift of, mind is like speaking over ourselves the blessings that we want to experience, because that is the start. That is the start of the momentum to get us to belief. And momentum is a very powerful thing. Abraham Hicks will say that it is the same as the law of attraction, if you think about it, that momentum equals the law of attraction. So, because if something likened to itself is drawn, and it's going to keep drawing more things to it, like you think one good feeling thought and you wait, they say 17 seconds, and another good feeling thought will join it. Well, that's momentum. That's law of attraction working in your favor because it feels good, right? So it comes back to those core concepts of mind and speech. And everything that is was once imagined. And how powerful is that to hold on to and to enjoy and to appreciate? I can imagine this thing. I can imagine this finished movie with a premiere and people coming out to see it. I can take time to imagine that. I can take time to imagine, a daily piano habit. I've been meaning to work on getting a daily piano habit going. I can imagine improving a skill there. I can, again, go to the end, dwelling in the end, like Neville says, and imagine it done and enjoy that and imagine the process along the way. Because another thing I love about Abraham Hicks is they talk about take the goal out of it, take the end result of the thing out of it for a little while, and make the manifestation, and the most important manifestation, the feeling first. The feeling, the emotion that you would feel should you embody that thing you want, and make that the goal, make that your manifestation goal. So for a long time, when people would ask me what my goals were, I would just say to feel happy, to feel good, to feel satisfied. Because when that is the goal, and you journal towards it, you meditate towards it, you make a list of fun feeling activities and do some of those activities towards it, and you feel satisfied, well, then you're there. Then you've succeeded. And the journey is the longest part of it all, right? If we're only hanging our hat on the goals once the goal comes through, well, the whole time up and towards the goal, I mean, once you achieve a goal, you want to set another goal, right? So if we make the journey the most important thing, then we can have satisfaction all the way along. Oh, this didn't feel so good. Oh, I'm satisfied that my emotional guidance system is working. That shows me that I'm looking in a direction that I don't want to go. How can I change that? Well, I can massage it in a couple of ways. One of them is going general, like I mentioned yesterday, going general with my thoughts. I can massage that feeling. I can massage it. I can tell myself, there are a lot of people who've been where I've been and stood where I stood, and now they have what I want. I can see those people and remind myself of those people. Or I can say to myself, I want something that I haven't seen anyone else have. I want that. And I can focus on knowing that that's real and knowing that I want that. That can be my dominant focus, that, well, I haven't seen anyone who has what I want. So I can just imagine everything to the very finest detail of what I want and really hang my hat on that and really enjoy that and really get excited about that. So yeah, so there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. It's all, again, different words of saying very much similar things. So it's what resonates best with you. I love Neville's The Pruning Shears of Revision. I found them super satisfying, especially if I'd had a day where, let's say, I wasn't motivated at the beginning of my day or inspired. I like to talk about inspiration versus, or more so than motivation, because inspiration comes from within. Abraham Hicks talks about that. Motivation is exterior, so that's why it's unreliable, which makes sense. But if we can get to an inspired place, through focusing our thoughts in good feeling directions, then you're there. Then you're living that great life. And anything that comes after that is just, evidence of you doing really, really well. And so you can just enjoy that evidence and then focus on the next thing that you want as like the next thing you want. So there's so much good material out there, and I hope that you find something that sparks your interest today and that pleases you and excites you and gets you excited for the next thing. And the next thing is to feel good now, and there's always a way to feel good now, and there's always a way to feel better, and the better it gets is another Abraham Hicks thing. And yeah, so we're always asking for an improvement, and now it's up to us to allow it. Thanks for watching.